If you or someone you love relies on the state pension, I need you to stay with me for the next few minutes, because something important is changing, and it could affect how much money you receive, and when you receive it. Now, I know words like changes and government updates can sound confusing or even a bit worrying, especially when you've worked your whole life and just want stability and peace of mind. But don't worry, I'm going to walk you through this in the simplest, clearest way possible, just like I would if we were sitting together having a cup of tea. Over the past few weeks, there's been growing talk about updates linked to the state pension in May 2026, particularly for those age 70 and above. Some headlines out there are dramatic, some even misleading. So today, we're going to cut through the noise and focus on what actually matters to you. What's changing, what isn't, and most importantly, what you should do right now to make sure your payments continue smoothly without any disruption. Because here's the truth, in times like this, staying informed isn't just helpful, it's essential. And by the end of this video, you'll feel confident, reassured, and fully prepared. Now let's get into it. So first things first, let's address the biggest concern that's been circulating, this idea that state pensions are somehow stopping for people over 70. I want to be very clear here because this is where a lot of confusion has come in. The state pension itself is not being canceled or taken away simply because someone has reached a certain age. If you're already receiving your pension, that doesn't just suddenly stop. However, what is changing are certain administrative checks, eligibility reviews, and payment verification processes that can affect how smoothly those payments continue. And this is where many pensioners can get caught off guard, not because they've done anything wrong, but simply because they weren't aware of what was expected of them. You see, the Department for Work and Pensions has been gradually updating how it manages records, especially as more systems become digital. These updates are meant to reduce fraud and ensure that payments are going to the right people, but at the same time, they require pensioners to keep their information up to date. Now imagine this scenario for a moment. You've been receiving your pension regularly for years. Everything has been working fine, and naturally, you don't think much about it anymore. Then suddenly, a letter arrives, or sometimes even just a notification that asks you to confirm certain details. Maybe it's your address, your bank account, or even proof that you're still eligible. If that letter is missed, misunderstood, or ignored, it can trigger a delay or even a temporary pause in payments until everything is verified again. That's why this update matters so much. It's not about losing your pension, it's about making sure nothing interrupts it. Another important point to understand is that these checks can sometimes feel unfamiliar, especially if you're not used to dealing with online systems or official forms. And let's be honest, not everyone is comfortable navigating websites or filling out digital documents. That's completely understandable. But the key thing here is not to ignore any communication you receive. Even if it looks complicated, it's always better to ask for help from a family member, a trusted friend, or even by calling the official helpline rather than leaving it unanswered, because in many cases, a simple confirmation is all that's needed to keep everything running smoothly. There's also been some discussion around changes to payment schedules and how increases are applied. As you may already know, state pensions are typically reviewed each year, and adjustments can be made based on factors like inflation or government policy. For May 2026, some pensioners may notice slight differences in payment timing, especially around bank holidays or system updates. These are usually temporary and don't affect the total amount you receive over time, but they can still cause confusion if you're not expecting them. And that's why staying informed is so important. When you know what's happening in advance, it removes that element of surprise and gives you control. Now, let's talk about something that doesn't get mentioned enough: scams. Unfortunately, whenever there are changes or updates like this, scammers often try to take advantage of the situation. They might send messages pretending to be from official departments, asking for personal information or even bank details. And this can be especially concerning for older individuals who are simply trying to follow instructions and stay compliant. So here's a simple rule to remember. Official departments will never pressure you to give sensitive information urgently over the phone or through suspicious messages. If something doesn't feel right, it's always best to pause and double-check before responding. Taking a moment to verify can protect you from serious problems later on. Now, if you're watching this and thinking, well, I haven't received any letters or notices, should I be worried? The answer is no, not necessarily. Not everyone will be contacted at the same time. These processes are often rolled out in stages, so some people may hear about them earlier than others, but that doesn't mean you should just wait passively. It's a good idea to make sure your contact details are up to date and that you're aware of how to respond if you do receive any communication in the future. And this is where a small step today can make a big difference tomorrow. Something else worth mentioning is how family members can play a role in this. If you have elderly parents or relatives who rely on the state pension, it might be helpful to check in with them and make sure they understand what's going on. Sometimes just having someone explain things in plain language can make all the difference. It's not about taking over, it's about supporting and ensuring everything stays on track. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about policies or paperwork. It's about people's lives, their security, and their peace of mind. Now let's shift slightly and talk about what you can actually do right now in a calm and practical way. Start by keeping an eye on any official letters or notifications. Don't set them aside thinking you'll deal with them later. Open them, read them, and if something isn't clear, reach out for clarification. If you're unsure about anything, it's always okay to ask questions. There's no such thing as a silly question when it comes to your financial well-being. It's also helpful to keep your important information in one place. Things like your national insurance details, bank information, and any recent correspondence. That way, if you're asked to confirm something, you're not scrambling to find it at the last minute. And most importantly, stay connected. Whether it's through trusted news sources, community groups, or even videos like this, staying informed helps you stay ahead. Before we wrap up, I just want to remind you of something important. Changes like this can feel unsettling at first, especially when the information out there is mixed or unclear. But once you understand what's really happening, it becomes much more manageable. This isn't about taking something away. It's about ensuring the system continues to work properly for everyone who depends on it. And you've already taken a great step just by watching this video and learning more. If you found this helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you could give this video a like and share it with someone who might need to hear this too. Maybe a parent, a neighbor, or a friend. And if you want to stay updated with clear, simple explanations like this in the future, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss anything important. Take care of yourself, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next video. Let's continue, because there are a few more things that really deserve your attention, especially if you want to stay completely in control of your payments and avoid any unnecessary stress down the line. One of the biggest misunderstandings people have is assuming that once their state pension is set up, it will simply run in the background forever without any interaction. And while that may have been mostly true in the past, things are slowly shifting. Systems are becoming more connected, more automated, and in some ways more efficient. But that also means they rely more heavily on accurate, up-to-date information. Even a small mismatch in your details, something as simple as an old address or a bank account that's been updated without proper notification, can sometimes trigger a review. Now, that doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. It just means the system needs to double-check things to keep everything secure. But here's where it becomes important. If those checks happen and you're not aware of them, or you don't respond in time, it can create delays that feel sudden and confusing. That's why awareness is your best tool here. Not fear, just awareness. Think of it like this. Imagine your pension as a regular delivery that arrives at your door every month. For years, it's been arriving without fail. But now, occasionally, the delivery service might knock and ask, "Just to confirm, is this still the right address?" If no one answers that question, they might pause deliveries until they're sure everything is correct. The delivery hasn't been canceled, it's just waiting for confirmation. Another area that's worth talking about is how these changes can affect couples, especially where one partner may be handling most of the paperwork. In many households, one person naturally takes on the role of managing finances, reading official letters, and dealing with administrative tasks. But if something happens, like illness, travel, or even just a missed letter, the other partner might not immediately know what to do. This is why it can be incredibly helpful to keep each other informed. Even a simple conversation about where important documents are kept, or what to do if a letter arrives, can prevent confusion later. It's not about expecting problems. It's about being prepared in a calm, sensible way. There's also something else that often goes unnoticed, and that's how quickly small issues can snowball if they're not addressed early. For example, if a payment is delayed and it's not immediately clear why, some people might assume it's just a temporary glitch and wait for it to resolve on its own. And sometimes it does, but other times that delay is actually a signal that something needs attention. Maybe a form that hasn't been completed, or a verification that's still pending. By checking in early, even if it turns out to be nothing, you give yourself the chance to fix things before they become bigger problems. And that's really what this is all about, staying one step ahead, not reacting after the fact. Now, I want to touch on something that many people don't talk about openly, but it's very real, the emotional side of all this. When you hear about changes to something as important as your pension, it can bring up feelings of uncertainty, frustration, or even anxiety. And that's completely understandable. After all, this is something you've earned over a lifetime of work, and you deserve to feel secure in it. But here's the reassuring part. These updates are not designed to take anything away from you. They're meant to ensure the system continues to function properly in a changing world. Once you understand what's expected and how to respond, that sense of uncertainty often fades away. Knowledge has a way of replacing worry with confidence, and confidence is exactly what we want you to have. Let's also talk briefly about timing, because this is another area where people can get caught off guard. Not every change happens all at once. In fact, most updates are introduced gradually. You might hear about something happening in May 2026, but that doesn't necessarily mean it affects everyone on the exact same day. Some people may see changes earlier, others later. That staggered approach helps systems handle updates more smoothly, but it can also create confusion when people compare notes with friends or neighbors. You might hear someone say, "Oh, I had to confirm my details last month," while you haven't heard anything yet. That doesn't mean something is wrong, it just means your turn hasn't come yet. The key is not to panic or assume the worst, but simply to stay ready and informed. Another practical thing you can do is make sure your contact methods are reliable. If you've recently changed your phone number, moved house, or updated your bank, it's worth double-checking that everything is correctly recorded. This might feel like a small detail, but it can make a big difference in how smoothly things run. Because at the end of the day, communication is at the heart of all of this. When the system can reach you easily and you can respond without confusion, everything becomes much simpler. Now, let me share something that can really help bring peace of mind. Most issues that arise in situations like this are completely fixable. Even if a payment is paused or delayed, it doesn't mean it's gone forever. In many cases, once the necessary information is confirmed, payments are resumed and any missing amounts are sorted out. The important thing is not to ignore the situation, but to address it calmly and promptly. And this is where having the right mindset makes all the difference. Instead of seeing these updates as a threat, try to view them as a reminder, a prompt to check in, stay organized, and keep everything running smoothly. You've already done the hard part in life by building your entitlement to this pension. Now it's just about maintaining it. Before we finish, I want to come back to you, the viewer, because this video isn't just about information. It's about helping you feel prepared and supported. If any part of this has made you think, I should probably double check that, then that's a good instinct, trust it. Take a few minutes after this video to review your details, organize your documents, or even just have a quick conversation with someone you trust. Small actions like that can save a lot of stress later. And if you know someone else who might not be as comfortable navigating these kinds of updates, maybe an older relative, a neighbor, or a friend, consider sharing this information with them. Sometimes just passing along clear and simple guidance can make a huge difference in someone else's life. As always, if you found this helpful, don't forget to stay connected. These kinds of updates don't happen every day, but when they do, it's important to have a reliable source that explains things in a way that actually makes sense. Thank you for spending this time with me. Take care, stay informed, and remember, you're not alone in this. I'll see you in the next video.